Hi and welcome back to the photographycourse.net YouTube channel. In this video I'd like to share with you my experience of street portrait photography. It's a little bit different than regular street photography, so stick with me and I'll explain what I mean. If you're new to our YouTube channel, please check that subscribe button down below and also the bell icon. This way you'll be informed and be able to stay up to date when we release new videos. I love taking street portraits. It's something that I've developed a real taste for over the years. Initially it was difficult. I was very shy as a young man and it was difficult to photograph any person. But over the years I've become quite accustomed to it and now I really enjoy it. The difference with street photography and street portrait photography is that with regular street photography, there's not necessarily any engagement with your subject, and to me that's the main difference. With a street portrait, you're more inclined to connect with your subject in some way. Sure, it's still possible to take candid street portraits, but what I want to talk to you about today in this video is being able to take photos where you're really connecting with people that you meet in the street. Typically, when I'm out and about looking for someone to photograph, I'll look at their face. I'll look for an interesting face, but I'll also look for people who I think will be interested in having their picture taken. Somebody that's going to enjoy the experience is going to be easier to photograph, and that will make it enjoyable for me and for them. And so I look for people that are maybe a little bit more outgoing looking, that interacting with people around them and just generally more relaxed. If somebody's sort of sitting reading a newspaper and scowling, I'll just usually leave them alone. If somebody doesn't look very comfortable, I'll pass them by and look for somebody else to photograph and to connect with. And in doing this, when I'm doing this, I'm also thinking about how I'm approaching them and why I'm approaching them. Do I just want to take a photograph or do I want to give something back to them? And you'll be surprised as you approach people with the right attitude, you'll realize that by taking a photo, but even by just interacting with some people, you're giving them something, you're brightening their day. If they're going to enjoy the situation, a little bit of communication is going to lift their spirits. You're showing an interest in who they are by taking their photo. And if before you take your photo you build a little bit of rapport, if you can connect with them in a way that you show interest in who they are, maybe what they're doing, and ask them some questions about themselves, they're going to feel better about themselves already. And then if you take a really nice portrait, you can show them the back of your camera and most people are going to feel pretty good about that. So rather than taking a photo, you're actually giving them something. And then in particular, if you can actually get a contact, a Facebook contact or an email address or something like that, or be able to take a print copy back to them, this will really make a big difference. They'll really appreciate that. So if you can share the photos that you've taken with them, many people regard this as a real precious gift. And I really love doing that. I really love particularly making prints because these days, not many people get prints made, not many people receive a printed copy of a photo of themselves either, so it's a really fun thing to do. And as you can see with this portrait, I've photographed this guy a number of times and he really enjoyed getting a print of one of the pictures that I've made of him. And every now and again I'll photograph him again, we'll chat some more, we'll have a bit of a laugh. He's a real character, he's got a real natural smile, so he's easy to photograph. And in other situations, I'll see people sometimes that I'll think, I'm a little bit uncertain, but I still really want to take their photograph. I'll approach them and ask them anyway. And I did that with this chap. He's also a porter at the markets where we live, and I've seen him quite often before, and I was really interested in his tattoos. I saw him leaning on his trolley, and he's got some traditional tattoos on his arms, but I kind of noticed that he was a bit shy, a bit quiet and that, and I thought, well, I'll just approach him anyway. And I thought, where he's standing, it looks really good, the light's nice, you've got this nice dark background behind him. And so I was across the street with my D800 and my 35mm lens, which I love using for street portraiture because it allows me to get relatively close and to be able to communicate with somebody and then be ready to take their photograph. So what I did was I set my settings, I got my focus guessed at about where I would be, and then manually set my exposure without him really noticing what I was doing. Then I approached him and I asked him, and as I approached him, he dropped his arms by his sides. So I explained, no, I want your arms there. I want to see your tattoos and I like the shape that it's making. And he was a bit nervous and a bit shy, and I just sort of thought, well, I better hurry here. And I took 3 exposures. This one is the only one that I used. There's 2 more where he's laughing and walking off, because as I started taking his photo, or even before when I was arranging him, asking him to put his arms back, a couple of the vendors close by started teasing him and giving him a bit of a razz about having his picture taken, and he was uncomfortable about that. But a few weeks later, I was back there, I took him a print, he was absolutely loved the photograph, and every time I see him now, we say hi to each other, and it's just a really nice bit of a relationship happening there. So I was able to take his portrait, but I was also able to give him something back again as well. The key in all of these situations, I find, is to be able to engage in a meaningful way. And it doesn't need to be much. Sometimes it can be just a matter of showing someone your camera and nodding towards it and smiling. And if they nod back at you, take their picture. And then that can be the beginning of the interaction, because showing them what you've taken on the back of your monitor can really encourage them. This is one of the other things I love about this 35mm lens, because I can be that close to someone, I can turn the camera around and show them the photo that I've taken, and if they smile, if they're happy with it, I can quickly turn the camera back around and take a few more frames of them when they're relaxed and happy looking in a more natural way. As with any type of photography, the more confident you are with your camera to set it well and to know that you've got your exposure right, that you're confident with your focus, the more then you'll be able to connect with your subject. You won't be looking down at your camera and fiddling with it and thinking so much at your settings. You'll be able to engage with the person that you're photographing. And this to me is a real key for getting good street portraits. It does take practice. It can be challenging, especially if you're a bit shy, if you're introverted. But honestly, the benefits of overcoming that are really wonderful. So be encouraged to get out and take some good street portraits when you can.